The BGM-71 TOW is an anti-tank missile. First produced in 1970, the TOW is one of the most widely used anti-tank guided missiles. Design and development. Initially developed by Hughes Aircraft between 1963 and 1968, the XBGM-71A was designed for both ground and heli-borne applications. In 1997, Raytheon Company purchased Hughes Electronics from General Motors Corporation, so development and production of TOW systems now comes under the Raytheon brand. The BGM-71 TOW wire-guided heavy anti-tank missile is produced by Raytheon Systems Company. The weapon is used in anti-armor, anti-bunker, anti-fortification and anti-amphibious landing roles. The TOW is in service with over 45 militaries and is integrated on over 15,000 ground, vehicle and helicopter platforms worldwide. In its basic infantry form, the system comprises a missile in a sealed tube which is clipped to a launch tube prior to use. When required, the missile tube is attached to the rear of the launch tube, the target sighted and the missile fired. The launch motor fires through lateral nozzles amidships and propels the missile from the tube, at which point four wings indexed at 45 degrees just forward of the booster nozzles spring open forwards, four tail control surfaces flip open rearwards, and sustained propulsion is subsequently provided by the flight motor. An optical sensor on the side continuously monitors the position of a light source on the missile relative to the line of sight, and then corrects the trajectory of the missile by generating electrical signals that are passed down two wires to command the control surface actuators. The TOW missile was continually upgraded, with an improved TOW missile appearing in 1978 that had a new warhead triggered by a long probe, which was extended after launch, that gave a standoff distance of 15 km for improved armor penetration. The 1983 TOW-2 featured a larger 5.9 kg warhead with a 21.25 inextensible probe, improved guidance and a motor that provided around 30% more thrust. This was followed by the TOW-2 Ares per byte which appeared in 1987. Hughes developed a TOW missile with a wireless data link in 1989, referred to as TOW-2N, but this weapon was not adopted for use by the U.S. military. Raytheon continued to develop improvements to the TOW line, but its FOTT program was cancelled in 1998, and its TOW-FF program was cut short on November 30, 2001 because of funding limitations. In 2001 and 2002, Raytheon and the U.S. Army worked together on an extended-range TOW-2B variant, initially referred to as TOW-2B, but now called TOW-2B Aero, which has a special nose cap that increases range to 4,500 meters. Although this missile has been in production since 2004, no U.S. Army designation has yet been assigned. Also, a wireless version of the TOW-2B Aero was developed that uses stealth one-way radio link, called TOW-2B Aero or F. The TOW missile in its current variations is not a fire-and-forget weapon, and like most second-generation wire-guided missiles has semi-automatic command line-of-sight guidance. This means that the guidance system is directly linked to the platform, and requires that the target be kept in the shooter's line of sight until the missile impacts. This has been the major impetus to develop either a fire-and-forget version of the system or to develop a successor with this ability. In October 2012, Raytheon received a contract to produce 6,676 TOW missiles for the U.S. military. Missiles that will be produced include the BGM-71E TOW-2A, the BGM-71F TOW-2B, the TOW-2B Aero, and the BGM-71H TOW Bunker Buster. By 2013, the U.S. Marine Corps had retired the air-launched TOW missile. Launch platforms. The TOW is designated as a BGM by the U.S. military, a multiple launch environment surface attack guided missile. The B launch environment prefix is used only when the system can be used essentially unmodified when launched from a variety of launch platforms. The M151 and M220 launchers are used by infantry, but can also be mounted on a number of vehicles, including the M151 Jeep, the M113 APC, the M966 HMMWV and the M1045 HMMWV. These launchers are theoretically man-portable, but are quite bulky. The updated M151 launcher was upgraded to include thermal optics to allow nighttime usage, and had been simplified to reduce weight. The M220 was specifically developed to handle the TOW-2 series. TOW systems have also been developed for vehicle-specific applications on the M2 Permeter-3 Bradley IFV-CFV, the LAV-AT, the M1134 Stryker ATGM carrier, and the now obsolete M901 ITV. They are generally referred to as TOW under armor. In helicopter applications, the M65 system used by the AH-1 series is the primary system deployed, but the XM26 system was developed for the UH-1, and a system was put into development for the later cancelled AH-56 helicopter. The TOW has also been used with AH-1 and AH-7 variants of Westland Lynx helicopters, with the attachment of 2 pylons, each carrying 4 missiles. The M41 TOW Improved Target Acquisition System is a block upgrade to the M220 Ground High Mobility Multi-Purpose Wheeled Vehicle-Mounted TOW-2 Missile System. The TOW ITAS is currently being fielded to airborne, air assault, and light infantry forces throughout the active and reserve components of the U.S. Army and U.S. Marine Corps, where it is called the SABER. The ITAS, in addition to providing better anti-armor capabilities to anti-tank units, also has capabilities that make it an integral part of the Combined Arms team. Even when organized in heavier Eurolight task forces, where the preponderance of anti-armor capabilities traditionally has resided in the heavy elements, TOW ITAS-equipped anti-tank units can not only destroy threat targets but also provide superior reconnaissance, surveillance, and target acquisition, rear area protection, and urban operations capabilities. The TOW ITAS consists of 3 new line replaceable units, the Target Acquisition Subsystem, the Fire Control Subsystem, and the Lithium Battery Box. A modified TOW-2 Traversing Unit. The existing TOW Launch Tube and Tripod. And a TOW Humvee Modification Kit. The TAS integrates into a single housing the Direct View Optics, a second-generation forward-looking infrared night vision sight, missile trackers, and a laser rangefinder. TAS electronics provide automatic bore sighting for these components, eliminating both tactical collimation and 180-day verification requirements. Service history: in 1968, a contract for full-scale production was awarded to Hughes, and by 1970 the system was being fielded by the U.S. Army. When adopted, the BGM-71 series replaced the M40 106mm recoilless rifle and the MGM-32 ENTAC missile system then in service. The missile also replaced the AGM-22B then in service as a heli-borne anti-tank weapon. Vietnam: first combat use of TOW anti-armor missile. On April 24, 1972, the U.S. 1st Combat Aerial TOW Team arrived in South Vietnam. The team's mission was to test the new anti-armor missile under combat conditions. The team consisted of 3 crews, technical representatives from Bell Helicopter and Hughes Aircraft, members of the United States Army Aviation and Missile Command, and 2 UH-1B helicopters. Each mounting the XM-26 TOW weapons system, which had been taken from storage. After displacing to the Central Highlands for aerial gunnery, the unit commenced daily searches for enemy armor. On May 2, 1972, U.S. Army UH-1 Huey helicopters firing TOWs destroyed North Vietnamese tanks near An Loc. This was heralded as the first time a U.S. unit neutralized enemy armor using American-designed and built guided missiles, in this case against an American-made M41. On May 9, elements of the North Vietnamese Army's 203rd Armored Regiment assaulted a camp at Ben Het held by Army of the Republic of Vietnam Rangers. The Rangers destroyed the first 3 PT-76 amphibious light tanks of the 203rd, thereby breaking up the attack. During the battle for the city of Con Tum, the TOW missile had proven to be a significant weapon in disrupting enemy tank attacks within the region. By the end of May, BGM-71 TOW missiles had accumulated 24 confirmed kills of both PT-76 light and T-54 main battle tanks. On August 19, the South Vietnamese 5th Infantry Regiment abandoned Base Camp Ross in the Khe Sun Valley, 30 miles southwest of Da Nang, to the North Vietnamese 711th Division. A dozen TOW missiles were left with abandoned equipment and fell into communist hands. 1982 Lebanon War. The Israel Defense Forces used TOW missiles during the 1982 Lebanon War. On July 11 Israeli anti-tank teams armed with the TOW ambushed Syrian armored forces and destroyed 11 Syrian Soviet-made T-72 tanks. This was probably the first encounter of the American anti-tank missile with the newer Soviet tank. 1985 Iran-Iraq War. In the Iran-Iraq War, the Islamic Republic of Iran Army used TOW missiles purchased before the Iranian Revolution, as well as those purchased during the Iran-Contra affair. 1991 Gulf War. In the First Gulf War both the M2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicle and the M3 Bradley cavalry fighting vehicle carried TOW missiles. The M2 IFV can also carry an additional 7 rounds while the M3 can carry an additional 12 rounds. Both M2 and M3 Bradley fighting vehicles actually scored higher tank kills against Iraqi armor during the war than the M1A1 Abrams main battle tank. 1993 Somalia. On July 12, 3 months prior to the Battle of Mogadishu, the United Nations and United States decided to put pressure on Mohammed Farah aided by attacking a meeting of his native Habashid clan under Operation Michigan. The Washington Post described the event as a slaughter in which a half-dozen AH-1 Cobra attack helicopters pumped 16 TOW missiles and 2,000 rounds from their 20mm cannons into the meeting of the elders, intellectuals, poets and religious leaders. The first TOW missile took out the stairs, preventing escape. In the aftermath, it was revealed that Aidid wasn't in the meeting. Admiral Jonathan T. Howe claimed that only 20 people had been killed, as against the Red Cross, which said 54 had died, and Aidid a unregistered trademark SSNA, which produced a list of 73 people who they claimed had been killed. Other service. The TOW was used effectively during multiple engagements during Operation Desert Storm. Several TOW missiles were used by U.S. forces in Iraq in the 22nd July 2003 assault that killed Uday and Qusay Hussein. The TOW has been spotted in April 2014 in at least 2 videos that surfaced showing rebels in the Syrian conflict using BGM-71 TOW wire-guided anti-tank missiles, a weapon previously not seen in use by the opposition. Such a video, showing a TOW BGM-71E-3B with serial number removed, can be seen in this episode of the PBS series Frontline, at 8:07. Variants. Raytheon has taken over for Hughes in recent years, and now handles production of all current variants, as well as TOW development. Original armor penetration estimates were 600 for BGM-71 Ares per byte and 700 €800 for BGM-71C. However, according to a now declassified CIA study, the true penetration values against a vertical target are much lower, just 430 for basic TOW and 630 for improved TOW. Time to target at maximum range is 20 seconds, therefore giving an average speed of 187.5 ams. International variants. Iran has reverse-engineered and currently manufactures duplicate TOW missiles. These carry the Iranian designation of Tufan, operators, gallery. See also, Mapots, Swingfire, Euromissile Hot, AT-5 Spandrel, AT-4 Spigot, AT-14 Cornet, Sherzhen, M47 Dragon, M72 LAW, AT-4, HJ-8, Joint Air-to-Ground Missile, History of UAVs Decoys, List of U.S. Army rocket launchers by model number, Notes. References. Sources: The TOW Family, TOW Improved Target Acquisition System, the TOW Anti-Tank Missile in Vietnam, Dunstan, Simon. Vietnam Tracks Armor in Battle. Osprey Publications. ISBN 0-89141-171-2. Gunston, Bill. An Illustrated Guide to Modern Airborne Missiles. London, Salamander Books Limited, ISBN 0-86101-160-0. Starry, Don A. General. Mounted Combat in Vietnam. Vietnam Studies. Department of the Army. First printed 1978 CMH Pup 90-17. External links, TOW project history at Redstone Arsenal, www.faz.org, more information at designationsystems.net, the early TOW missile story and photos, Tank vs Missile a Euro 1974 article, Iranian copies of the TOW and Dragon, information relating to Raytheon-produced BGM-71 TOW missile, Discovery Channel program on modern missiles with best video information on TOW today. TOW part starts at 2 minutes, Raytheon TOW 2A PDF, Raytheon TOW 2B/2B Aero PDF, TOW weapon system.